much of what we left out of the regulations, I think, should have been left out. We had long passages borrowed or adapted from Robert's rules and other places about how the IRBs were to function. And we finally, we tested some of these things in the IRB over at Johns Hopkins. We wanted to take it outside of NIH because that's a kind of rarefied and not a typical IRB. So we took it to Hopkins, and there we actually violated the Administrative Procedures Act, which forbids showing drafts of regulations to anyone unless you show them to everyone. They're supposed to be secret. And we thought, this just doesn't make sense if we don't test these things out. And so I had attended a number of their IRB meetings just for my own education. Got to know the chairperson over there, whose name I've now forgotten, but who had been chair for a long time. And they quietly tested the regulations as we drafted them for all their meetings, well over a year.
Really?
And they made lots of suggestions for changes.
Do you remember any of those that stand out?
Well, I think particularly in the assessment of risk in those sections where some segments of research, some segments of consent can be waived under certain circumstances, safeguards for those who are mentally incompetent, and just different wording of some of the things that have survived, but they found the wording too complex, or they would argue about what the regulation meant, and that told us we'd better clarify it. So they were most cooperative, and I burned a lot of rubber going over to Hopkins up in Baltimore during those years. And I was always very nervous because it was in strict violation of the law. But I felt there is a higher law. If these regulations are to be in any way effective, we have to test them. And we have to have someone other than federal employees test them. And so we used that process, and we kept that a very, even on my own staff, only a few of us knew that we did that.
Really?
We came back to meetings with suggestions for changes in the draft, and we never told them where they came from. Many of them came from Hopkins.
Wow.
And if I were in the government again, I think I would do the same thing again.
That's a really neat story. I had not heard that one before.
Well, we never advertised it because we didn't want somebody to challenge the regulations on the grounds that they were created in violation of the Federal Administrative Procedures Act.